So,
Mhm.
uh, so with that being said, I'm joined with my guests, two long friends of mine, talented artists, hip hop artists. One is from Richmond, Kentucky. Not only is he a professor, he a doctor, you know, with the school and everything, teaching the kids out there at the EKU. But he goes in with
Teaching, corrupting, whatever.
yeah, that too. So he's doing his thing. One half of re-education camp. I got John with me, and then all the way originally from New York, residing in Louisville, Kentucky, representing the Creative Natives crew, longtime friend as well, formerly known as Pronoun, now known as Furious Floyd. Both
Mm.
men are joining me right now. How's it going, fellas?
It reminds me when Hulk Hogan and Macho Man got together, and they wouldn't shake because they thought an atomic bomb would explode.
The mega powers.
I'm
Word.
sensing that. I'm sensing the energy there. Thank you, fellas, for joining me this on this Monday. It's Royal Rumble week, obviously, so I like the references there. So yeah, the reason we are having this interview today because y'all two have something in the works with each other. So which one of y'all want to spill the beans on what y'all have on the horizon? Who wants to enlighten us listeners out there?
Oof. Floyd, what do you think?
Hey, it's either way. I mean, yeah, let me do this part because I know when it comes to the technicalities of the album and the concepts, you're probably a little bit better at explaining that since you're a professor and shit. So like fucking but yeah, we got together, we talked about it a while ago. There's actually been a while in the making. And basically we're gonna form a group called Diatrybe. Diatrybe. And essentially, we're making an album that is about a lot of things. I will say that. You know what
A
I'm
lot of
saying?
things to
So,
talk about.
a lot of things to talk about. But I'll leave it there for right now. Also, give me 1 second. 1 second.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can take it from here if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this came from just, many, many years of just, mutual respect and just Floyd is just like on top of every social issue. Um, got, context obviously was, a work of art and a work of scholarly product as well. Um, big respect for Furious Floyd for sure. On just everything that it brings. And so I was just like, all right, well, we've done a song together. We did a song on the EP, the campaign in 2018.
Yeah.
And I was just like, there is just, and this was like a couple of years ago. And I said, I don't think I could ever go through my life without having done some sort of album with you. So we have to do something like not just a song, not just a verse, but like a whole
Like a
project.
project. Mm.
Yeah, a whole project. We have to like put put it all in, all the things that we think about, all the different issues that are out there, um, and just join forces, Avengers it, man. Like bring
Mm.
us together,
Word.
like super group it, and like you know, I feel like the time is right for this kind of project. People's ears are ready for this kind of project. Um, we have many people just ready to hear what we have to say and ready to get, out of their slump, out of their trumps,
Out of
and,
the Trump slump. Yeah.
and ready to like go to work, get ready to be inspired to do something about all the things that are happening around us, and ready to do something. So Floyd is like, you know, number one on my list for who I would want to partner with on a project like this.
Thank you.
Thankfully, he wasn't
Appreciate
like, nah, I'm too busy right now. Because I would wait. Like I'm gonna be, I'm 48. I've been doing this for over 30 years, and I am not gonna stop. Like I'm gonna probably die with several songs. Like still got like half a song written when I'm 80 or 80, whatever. So it's like I'm gonna keep going. So, um, this is just something that had to happen, and really has to happen now. And the timeliness of
Yeah,
all this is
Okay.
yeah. It's like, nah,
Go ahead,
go ahead.
Floyd.
My bad.
No, you good, Floyd. You go ahead.
Oh, yeah. It's kind of wild because basically the concept behind it was let's write an album, very similar to like when I wrote Context way back. It's like let's write an album about America and the things that are kind of going on. And then, that was probably what, like a year and a half ago, maybe something like that, where we first like kind of came up with the idea. We got like together on Zoom and started bouncing ideas. Hey, we could do this, do this, do this. And thanks to him being a professor, he's very, very organized because I'm not very organized at all. So he was able to kind of outline it all and be like, okay, yeah, we could do this. We could touch on this. What if we did this? Blah, 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 blah. And me personally, like after I made Context, I kind of had stopped doing like political forward music. And it wasn't because I, didn't care, but it was more so of a like I was ready to do other things. And I still am doing other things. But like that album was a very personal album to me because that album I started researching like Trump in like I've been knowing about Trump because I'm from New York. Like I've watched this motherfucker fail my whole life. You know what I mean? Like so I knew him very well and I knew like Hillary very well. But what ended up happening, hold on one second. What's going on? Hold on. Hold on.
All right. So all y'all need to know is that a collaboration between John and Floyd is happening. It's going to be coming out at some point this year, I'm assuming. So just and the song that y'all the first collaboration that y'all reference is a catchy jingle of the campaign. And that was definitely one of my favorite songs of that project. I've always admired you both as artists, as people in general. Um, Floyd's very passionate. If anyone is a Facebook friend of his, it's very, very passionate. He's passionate of politics. He's passionate about Knicks basketball. He goes heavy with the Knicks. He loves the Knicks. You know what I'm saying? He's passionate. And that's the thing of being an artist is you have a passion for something. You have a passion of whether it's love, whether it's expressing heartbreak or whatever feelings, whether it's your experience or someone else's experience. Hip hop has always been like in the forefront of, dating back to Public Enemy days, you know, and Chuck D was just the soundtrack of that. And there was always those guys that was willing to speak up on these social issues. And while hip hop has changed a lot since then, there are still artists there, whether it's mainstream or whether it's indie, that's willing to put out these type of music. You know what I'm saying? Um, but yeah,
Yeah. Like, yeah, my bad, y'all, because y'all called me right when I had to pull up to get some medicine. So it was kind of, I had to keep jumping back and forth. But, yeah, like, dude, like, for me, it was like, I wrote an album called Context. This is what we were talking about before, for those who don't know. I wrote an album called Context in 2018. I dropped it. And it was literally me talking about America at that time because, I've always been pretty politically, socially conscious, but I had, I'd write about things in a more general sense. So I talk about, hey, things are, I write about kind of the experience of being like, a lower to middle class black person in America and all the things that entails. And when Trump, became the nominee, I remember looking at that going like, hey, this is really bad. Like, I don't think people realize, A, how much of not a good, shrewd businessman he is, one, and two, like how reckless and narcissistic this guy is. And then he got elected. So from the time of 2016 up until when it dropped 2018, I researched the administration. Like, I researched Trump's administration during his first term and like paid a whole lot of attention to everything. And in doing so, I had like two major takeaways. One, it's hard to kind of keep track of all the stuff that he does because he does so many things. He's so reckless. He's like, yeah, I'm going to do this, like how he did this time. And he's like, I'm going to sign 100, executive orders right now. And everybody was like, huh? Like, oh, this happened. But there are a lot of things that kind of go under the radar. And two, I realized that this motherfucker is only out for himself. None of this is to help anybody. So like I wrote an album about America and about, I took certain subjects and expanded on them. So it's like I wrote like Law of Averages, and it was about how black people are treated in America, because that was right around the time where you started seeing a video of a black person getting killed by a police officer like every 2 fucking days. So I wrote an album about that. And I wrote an album, the first verse was like about Mike Brown or something like that. I wrote a song called Fly Technology that was about algorithms, because that was when algorithms started getting like really creepy, when like your phone would know everything about you and would start feeding you like things that it knows you're going to agree with just to keep you on the app. That was when that first started ramping up. I started talking about that. Like, I made a song called Queso that was all about how all of this shit at the end of the day, in terms of what they do, is all comes down to money. You know what I mean? It's about who's making money off of this, how can we make money off of this? And a lot of the things that get legislated nowadays have nothing to do with what's right or wrong or good or bad for the people, and everything to do with money. And then I wrote a song, the outro was called Dumplings, and it was me basically explaining my rationale of not voting for Hillary or Trump, because I also grew up with Hillary as my senator in New York for years. So I knew a whole lot about her too. I don't like her either. You know what I mean? So I was kind of dejected about it, and I voted third party, even though, that never amounts to anything. But it was more of a protest vote. Like, I'm not voting for either of them, not thinking Trump would actually win, and also being in a state that was surely going to go red regardless of what my vote did. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, it couldn't hurt. I can't bring myself to vote for either. Whatever. Then Trump got elected, and then I was like, that was not a great idea. You know what I mean? Like, so with that album, I had kind of stopped making that kind of music, not because I don't care, not because I'm bashful and I don't want to speak my mind in terms of what's going on, but because it got really disheartening over time how much of this shit I like called ahead of time. And like, it's almost like if you're a conscious rapper, you know what I mean? I think most conscious rappers that talk about like real shit in life are trying to like legitimately make a difference. Like, one of the things I partnered with John on my first album release show was that we actually got people registered to vote at my album show. So like when we did the context release, we got people registered to vote. Like, I did this whole political album and was like, yo, you can register right there. And people actually registered. Like, you're actually trying to make a difference. But it comes to a point where you kind of realize through music itself, unless you are going to be massively consumed by a massive amount of people, it's hard to really sway public opinion with like one album or one song. It's got to really hit the public zeitgeist for real, like heavily, in order for it to really change anything. And like, I don't really listen to Context anymore. I love that album. It's some of my best work, but like, it almost makes me sad. Like, listening to it, like I go back and listen to it, I'm kind of like, it didn't work. You know what I mean? Kind of thing. You know what I mean? So I had kind of set that aside almost entirely. And when John came and approached me about it, I was like, yeah, cool. We'll see, we'll talk about it. Yeah, let's see. And then once we started talking about it. He started laying out what he wanted to do and the concepts and how he wanted to kind of layer it and stuff. Then I was like, oh, and it like lit that spark again to start making make songs that are about this. I started back and like social consciousness on a level of explaining to people what's going on. You sorry? I'm sorry. I'm driving and I have my signal on and dude sped up. So he's mad. But yeah. Anyway, like it really made me want to kind of rap this stuff again. You know what I mean? Like, because I had kind of set it aside, and it wasn't like I would never like. If you listen to my most recent album, I talk about the things that are going on in the world. But in terms of talking about politics or talking about policy in particular and certain things, I was like, yeah, I'm good on it. I've said pretty much everything I need to say. But John has some very good ideas. And it kind of made me want to step back into that arena. Plus, he's a professor, so he's one of the few people that really understands this shit like I do, to where like I don't feel like a fucking crazy person when I talk to him about bills and laws and how this is going to have an effect on this. And it's like not going over, not to say that I have like professor level intellect or anything like that, but like I pay a lot of attention. So like I know little things, like you know what I mean, that like people don't pick up on because I actually research these things not to get myself mad and riled up, but because I'm legitimately curious to know what's going on in the world around me. You know what I mean? So it's good to be able to work on an album doing something that I really believe in with somebody that also understands where I'm coming from. And that's like rare, especially in the hip hop space, for somebody to have the knowledge around like poverty and laws and all the shit that kind of led us to this point of where we're at, where everybody's kind of really fucking unsatisfied with how America's going right now. Even if you're a Trump supporter, it's because you're unsatisfied with where America's at right now. You know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of a thing that we all share. Is all of us are kind of like, this ain't it. You know what I mean? Like, and it's good to like work with someone who understands the machinations behind why that is. So, once we got to working on it, I was like, okay, I'm in. You know what I mean? And that's where we at right now. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Really gorgeous. You can see my flowers. This is my wife's workspace. I'm just gonna stop working and just decide it's all done. So I'm gonna take over my wife's workspace. But one thing that Floyd runs into that is very rare to find someone else who has this experience is when you pay attention to all these things and you recognize that many of these battles that we're fighting are battles that have been going on in cycles for a very long time. You talk about all the ingredients and things that went into, the current state of things, and you'll end up talking about this is going to come next, right? This is the next step in this cycle as we're going around and coming around this whole problem again. So Floyd has this experience too, where you almost sound prophetic, where you're like, I'm gonna come out with this song, and then someone's like, well, 6 months after that song came out, this happened, and he talked about that, and it's like, we're not like, I don't know about Floyd, we're not just an incense and like getting around crystal balls and whatnot. I mean, we're not like that. Like we're not mystics or anything like. Floyd, I'm speaking for you, but I assume that's the case.
Nah, for sure.
So it's like we're not prophets or we're not Nostradamus. We're just paying attention. We're just paying attention to
exactly
how these things work, and so it's like it doesn't surprise us when this next shoe drops or whatever, but it's like for everyone else it's kind of like, oh wow, how'd you know this is going to happen? It's like because that happened in the 80s and it happened in the 60s and it happened in the 20s and it happened in 1890 and it happened in 1870. It's like it's the same thing replaying itself because we never quite cured the problem, and it's just going to keep cropping up again and again. So
exactly, it's like for instance, like my current album, my Invincible Spit 53 album, right? I have a song on there with my little brother called Fade in the Water. And it's kind of the title is a play off of, the people beating the shit out of them people on that boat. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's like, that song, I had wrote that song well before that happened. And it was kind of the idea of that, of like, nah, at some point we're not going to take this shit no more. Like, we're not going to let y'all just do this. And then like I have another song on there that's called fucking what is it? Wait, no, it was Fade in the Water. And I was explaining, I was like, I want to capture that fucking energy. You know what I'm saying? Like that energy, that like protest kind of energy and shit. And I was talking about that, and I sent it to my brother to do a verse for it. And he's in the car with my cousin, and like 2 weeks later, the fucking protest happened. And he's listening, and he's like, Tita, how the fuck does he know? How does he always know? And it's like, because I pay attention, bro. Like this shit is not like, it's not rocket science. Essentially, it's just about being diligent and like paying attention and kind of being a little bit of a student of history. So like, for instance, you look at this situation now, like I've been saying for years that America's anywhere between 1933 and 1939 Germany. We're like right there, like right before the Nazis became the Nazis. And I've been saying this shit for years. And every time I say it, it's kind of like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, we're like the Germans. Oh, Nazi, yeah, okay. And then fucking now Trump gets reelected, fucking Elon Musk does a fucking Nazi salute. Everybody's like, wait, what? What the fuck? And it's like, yeah, this is what happened in Germany. Like what's happening in our country right now is literally what happened in Germany right before they became the Nazis.
Like if we
Like
continue down that path, like this is the only logical trajectory of like what you were seeing 10 years ago. It's like that's the only logical place
yeah,
we would end up based on, we're not solving the issues that were in,
yeah,
2015,
like
2016. So
like it mirrors so almost exactly like Hitler ran to be essentially chancellor, to be president essentially of Germany, and then they had a fucking giant like riot, and they threw him in jail, which the only difference between our story and their story is that like Hitler went to jail, Trump never went to jail. You know what I'm saying? Like they went to jail, and then after that, for the good of the nation, because they didn't want to cause a rift with the parties and with the populace, and they didn't want to seem biased, they let Hitler back out of jail. Hitler then wins the next election. He has a group of fucking people that do his bidding that are like not governmental in nature. They were called the brown shirts. Trump has fucking the oath keepers and all the motherfuckers he just left just pardoned. It's the same thing. You know what I mean? Then he gets into power, and what he does is he ends up going and changing all of the laws that are within his power to change within the government to be able to hold on to power. That's what Trump is literally doing right now. Oh, we're gonna drop all of these people out of the fucking out of governmental agencies. The FDA is currently not allowed to like give any public statements about anything. So like if we have like a food recall, some shit happens, they like can't say shit to you. Same for that. Same for the CDC. You know what I mean? If there's like some kind of outbreak of fucking bird flu, like what's fucked up? The reason why eggs are so high is because of the fucking bird flu. Like, and the bird flu killed fucking millions of fucking chickens across the country. And since there's less supply, prices went up. You know what I mean? Like, but he's not the motherfucker to put in there to then have it fixed. If he's going to tell the FDA, the people that like check in on this shit, and the CDC who monitor the actual disease, that you're just not allowed to do shit no more, like that's only going to make the problem worse. So like he does a lot of shit like that. And the logical conclusion of this eventually is fucking death camps for real. And that might sound crazy. Like it might sound crazy that, oh, we're just, but if you think about it, Hitler blamed all of the economic struggles of Germany on the Jews. Who is Trump blaming all the economic struggles on? Immigrants. The last time he was in office, they did the kids in cages thing, and he started locking people up on the border because he said the people coming across the border are taking your jobs and we're giving them all the money, and that's why you're so poor. And then what he ended up doing was he locked up a bunch of people. He separated fucking like 6,000 kids from their families. Like they came across the border, he grabbed them and took them and sent their parents back and kept the kids. And to this day, there are 1,000 kids that like are not returned to their parents. Their parents don't know where the fuck they are. They were too young to even recognize their parents. And it's just kind of like, Now, if that, now if you can do some shit like that, and you can keep saying the fucking immigrants are the people that are the problem, and this shit continues going down the course that it goes, do you really think that they wouldn't kill immigrants if they said it was that big of a thing? Like, do you really think they wouldn't? You know what I'm saying? Like it's kind of like, and granted, it'd probably take a couple years for his power to coalesce for nothing to be able to be done about it. But like they already introduced a bill fucking that to change the constitution so that Trump can run for a third term. They already introduced a bill for it. It's been a week. You know what I'm saying? Like this is a type of random shit that I know because I pay attention. That then when I say this shit, it sounds crazy. But then realistically, like
Like,
this is the course.
it is
You
happening.
know?
You know, it's not like,
Yeah.
no, this is just my imagination or me assuming something is going to happen. It's like it's happening now. It's in plain sight if you're got your pulse on everything. And I think this is the thing that like I ran into in 2016, a little bit more in 2020. And I think a lot of people feel this where it's kind of like uh all this stuff is happening, you're against all of it, but you're not sure what you can do. And Floyd and I are not commandos. We're not going to go,
Mm.
you know,
Yeah, I'm not,
get
bro.
in
I am
get in some gear and
not.
like go jump some fences or whatever. Like we're not going to be doing that kind of stuff. But what is in our power is what we do really well, which is this kind of music, and it's sort of a trumpet call for anyone else who feels this way to like take it in and be like, yes, this is exactly what it feels like. It's not just a report. This is a song. This is getting you in your heart and your head, and like getting you sort of not just outlining what the problem is, but giving you solutions of this is what we can be doing to solve this. And everyone has a part to play, everyone has a skill set, and everyone kind of has their passion areas for how they want to change things. But us making music, and Kenny, you highlighting uh our music and others who are doing the same kind of stuff, it's just like that is our contribution to the change. And anything else that we can do as a contribution to change is going to help. Just the worst thing you can do is nothing. Obviously it's worse to like join the problem. There's plenty of
Yeah,
people do that, but the worst thing that we can do is nothing, say nothing, do nothing, because we're so overwhelmed by this is a strategy to overwhelm us with problems so that we don't know what to do. And it's like pick a lane, pick a spot, clean, pick a place to clean up, pick a problem to fix. um I just had a Zoom with Real the Poet, Lexington MC. Yeah, Russell Allen. He's running you know a nonprofit advocacy group to stop the death penalty in Kentucky. And Russell knows advocacy work. He was the one who, along with DeBron Thomas, with Take Back Cheapside, was the ones who got those statues, Confederate statues, moved off of that site and into the cemetery where they belong. Some people said melt them down, which I kind of agree with, but the cemetery was a negotiation. But he knows advocacy work. He has a hip hop background and the passion to do that and the know how to do that. And I feel like anyone who's been in hip hop for as long as Floyd and I have been, know that advocacy and community betterment is very much a part of hip hop culture. It's like you can't be in hip hop and not have that at all as part of your
yeah,
DNA. So I mean that just comes with the culture, comes with the genre in many ways. And so that's what I would just say to anyone feeling overwhelmed, is like there's lots of things happening, there's lots of people doing stuff, and you just have to join forces with them and bring your skill sets. And one of our skill sets is music, and there's no way that I'm gonna just make run the same mistake that I felt like mainstream hip hop did in the early 2000s, was like make bangers, club bangers, basically. And I was like, y'all, like, no one's going to talk about George W. Bush.
nobody talking about this stuff really.
Yeah.
That was really frustrating, and just like I feel like it's in a better place now, but I refuse to make, I love making fun songs and funny songs, whatever, but like this is not the time to not address what's going on.
Exactly.
When people know that you do this kind of stuff, and they're just like,
yeah,
you're quiet about this, really? So
yeah. It's like that's the thing with me. It's like, yo, like I had people expect a certain level of insight from me when I'm making music because like that's what I do. Like that's my gift when it comes to hip hop isn't the fact that like I can rhyme really well, I have a big vocabulary, I can flow really well, or I have good performance. My gift is being able to explain things to people in like 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Like it's being able to like take a really big topic and squish it down into this little ball and like throw it at you. And when you catch it, you're like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, and it's kind of like that's what I do. I do that for politics. I do that for regular life. I do that explaining myself getting married to my wife, how that feels. I did it like, I do it with a bunch of different fucking things. So it's like for me to know as much as I know and to casually say, just random shit about it online all the time. Like, it's like there was a point where it got unhealthy. Like in the first Trump term, I was pissed. Like, especially like, cause it's like, I'm sitting here going like, dude, if you knew what I knew, you would be more fucking alarmed. Like, but you sound crazy when they don't know what you know. And you can't really expect the average person to take time out of their life that doesn't have a genuine interest in it to then go research fucking Trump administration. You know what I mean? To understand all this shit and to know where I'm coming from, why I'm saying all of this alarmist shit. So it's like, but at the same time, it's like I could explain that shit to you on a song though, and you get it. Like I could sit here and say it, and I sound like every other talking head you see online, and there are ones on the left, and there are ones on the right, and there are ones in the center saying, "Why is everybody tripping?" And there's always somebody with a fucking opinion. But like, I can make this song better than you about it though. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's a way to kind of cut through the noise and explain really like complex concepts. And it's like, as much as yeah, like